My favorite thing is always hearing somebody being like, I could do it. I just don't want to.
Views don't necessarily mean anything. You know, you have to figure out how to leverage those views. There are people that have, 10,000 followers that make millions of dollars leveraging their actual social media.
What is your why for building this personal brand? Is it because you want to do it for fun? Are you making dance videos, right, on TikTok? Or are you already a chef and you want to showcase the food that you make? So is your main goal, get this monetized as fast as possible and quit my job and make influencer my job?
Okay, so in this video, we'll go ahead and talk about running a personal brand and basically trying to build a personal brand. So right now, I think if you're trying to build a personal brand, it's definitely social media. Social media is 100% king, and you have to figure out how to leverage that in order to bring clients, right? And if you're going to start, we're going to assume you don't have a lot of money, right? Because there's, of course, different ways of going about it. If you have money, if you have, let's say, at least $15,000, you could run some ads. If you don't have any money, well, you definitely should not be playing around with any kind of paid ads, right? Because how are you I remember running my first ad campaign when I started. I had no idea what I'm doing. I had no idea what I was even doing a year from that time, because there's still so much to learn about overall advertisement and marketing that you're going to most likely burn through that money before you actually even acquire a customer, right? So I think what you should figure out first is how to leverage social media and acquire a customer for free, right? So,
well, before you do any of that, I think it's finding out what your persona is. What do you want to portray your personal brand? Be
super important.
Be the best version of yourself. Every single human on earth already is their own personal brand because that's a person.
Right.
That's how you make friendships, relationships, anything, right? So what makes you unique, you have to amplify that 100x. That's what you have to showcase basically all the time in your personal brand on social media and kind of stick to that. When you start swaying outside those lines, especially once you start getting that following, 20, 30, 50, 100,000 plus followers, they came and stayed with you because they are on the same, they like what you give, right?
Well, and building a persona, yes, it's super important. And I think there's honestly two ways of doing it. One is be original, be already who you are. And the second one is to build yourself in the way that you want to be, right? And in my opinion, number one is the way to go because it makes it easier, But there are people that do it the second way, there's a lot of artists out there who build brands, and I guarantee you they make them look a certain way, and they're nothing like that in real life, And I think that's okay if you want to live that lifestyle, right? That may be okay forever. If you decide to go, let's say, the luxurious way forever, you might be, having to rent expensive cars and, expensive places because that's what your brand is going to be, right? But is that the right way? I can't say that it's the right or wrong way because that's up to the person to decide. Do you want that life or do you want to just do it the other way? Because there's always multiple ways of doing it, right? There's never just one way. So people, I think, have to remember that and then figure out their path, I think also one way is going to bring in different clientele, and then the other is going to also bring different clientele. Like if you're original, it's going to be bringing people in that's closer to you, which in my opinion, wouldn't you want that more versus the people that you're trying to attract because that's maybe who you think you want to be, right? So I think that's the thing that you have to figure out first when you're building a personal brand, and then go from there, because whatever you decide, you're most likely going to continue with that for a very, very long time.
And if you already started figuring out what path you want to go, I think your very next step needs to be find your end goal. What is your why for building this personal brand? Is it because you want to do it for fun? Like, are you making dance videos, right, on TikTok or Instagram Reels? Are you doing, food videos? Like, are you making custom meals and like doing step by step? Like, do you want to be a chef? Or are you already a chef and you want to showcase the food that you make? Is it, obviously everybody wants money, so you want to get that monetized too. So is your main goal, get this monetized as fast as possible and quit my job and make influencer my job? Mm-hmm. Or do you have a secondary, do you have a job already? Is that going to stay your main job? And then social media, your personal brand, is that just going to be secondary and a hobby for you with the benefit of it being monetized down the road?
Right. Different ways to go about it, right? So you could, like you said, have the job, make this a hobby, because in reality, unless you go very, very big, you're not going to be making that much money from just monetization, right? and that's the, I guess, misbelief people have. They think that just because someone's getting a ton of views, they're making a lot of money, right? And that's not true. You have to understand that unless you do something with that personal brand, like start a business, you're not going to make a lot of money unless, like I said, you get huge and then you start getting sponsored deals, like legit sponsored deals, not that someone just sends you like a free t-shirt to wear, right? Because that's what most people will get when they're small. You have to get to a size where now you get real deals from sponsors like Nike or whatever, or if you're a cook or something, some kind of, food or something like that, cookware maybe, I don't know, whatever it may be. But yes, I think the best way is to be original, figure out something that you're already good at and maybe passionate with, and then either continue with the job and do this as a hobby because that's how you might want to do it, and maybe it will turn into something eventually, or take it seriously and turn it into a business so that you can replace your job,
Well, the biggest thing is you got to stay consistent.
100%.
Especially with social media. If you, even more so now than 5 years ago, 7 years ago, because it seems like more and more people want to do it to replace what they got going on as their primary job, and they want to be influencer as their job, right? And it's so much, I wouldn't say harder, but the space is noisier because there's a lot more people grabbing for attention. And with the multiple algorithms you got to work with, whether it's YouTube, Facebook and Instagram, TikTok or Twitter, those are always changing too. You got to stay on top of your game and be posting not just daily, but 3, 4, 5 times a day, and making sure that you are just hammering those down, and not just posting, but finding others in the space, going in their posts and interacting with those followers as well, like commenting on those posts, responding to those comments on those pages just to get your face up. Because if you say something funny or, out there and different, somebody might be like, ooh, I like that. Who is this person?
Right.
Click your name and you got a follower that way.
But with all that, the consistency and the work, wouldn't you say that's a full-time job?
It is 100%. It's another job. You're putting on another job on yourself.
Maybe even more. Maybe it's even more like 2 jobs, especially if you're trying to figure out how to make money with it, you know? I was watching a podcast from one of the bigger podcasters, and he was saying that in the first year he did real estate and he was doing this full time, and he only made, I don't know, it was a very small amount of money. The year following that year, he, I think, quit his real estate job, or maybe he was still doing it, but then also doubled the time where it became like 100 hours a week. And then he finally was making a lot of money. So now that's a lot of time that you have to do and put in to have that personal brand, right? So now, do you even want to do that, knowing that you always will have to be doing it? Because if you're the face, there's no escaping that, right?
Right.
And that's why I never wanted to build a personal brand. Like, I always wanted to be like, how can we do a business first? And then if anything, do a personal brand, more of a hobby type of thing that we don't have to rely on for the money, you know? Because knowing that you always have to make content, it's a lot, you know?
If you can batch your content, which it seems like a lot of people do, you know, record 2-3 days worth, and then, you know, say you have a full-time job during the week, and then Saturday, Sunday, you record content for, it's a lot easier for some, especially if you're doing cooking stuff, for example, because you could cook a bunch of dishes and you could give the food away, have friends come over, whatever. But you have content that you could break up now throughout the month, and you can spend now several hours throughout the week editing that, and then you put that into a software that's just automatically going to post it for you. So that's where you save your time there.
But still takes so much
it's
time.
still, to learn it all, if you don't know it, you got to learn it. And then it's tough because, like you said, it becomes more than a full-time job. And the moment you start losing that consistency, it's gone.
Yeah, you have to be super consistent. You have to be very focused. You always have to be willing to learn how to improve, like you said, with the algorithms and everything. You always have to stay on top of that. And if you're not making the money, or you don't have much money, you're doing it all yourself, right? Because you could hire help, but for, you know, $1,000 a month or something like that, you're not going to get the help that you're thinking that you need, right?
Right.
It's just doing the little tasks maybe, or answering like support or your social media accounts or something like that. But in my opinion, you are your best salesperson. So if you have something to sell at the beginning, you want to figure that out yourself, right? How to sell it and how to kind of go about that where you're bringing in revenue. Because if you outsource that right away and they don't know, then how are they ever going to sell something? You need to learn it first if you don't have a lot of money. Because then if you do have a lot of money and you're going into this second, then yeah, you could hire someone that's been in sales before, you know, that's done marketing before, but that person's going to be a lot more expensive, right? So you have to go through it, which will require a lot of time. And I think a lot of people underestimate the time that this really actually takes. And it's not just us saying it, you know, you could Google or go to YouTube and look this up from other podcasters and other people that do social media, and they will tell you themselves that this is a lot of work, you know, so you have to.
My favorite thing is, sorry to cut you off, my favorite thing is always hearing somebody being like, I could do it, I just don't want to. And we hear it all the time, like we've heard it on the software side of things. Like, I could build it too, I just don't want to. Like, I don't have the time for it, or I don't have the energy for it. Like, maybe if it comes down the line, I'll do it. But as of now, I don't see it. If you wanted to, you would.
100%. If
you had the drive and the energy and the passion for it, you would have done it. You would have sacrificed for it. Is it the easy way out that you're not doing it? Is it that you actually can't do it? It's a bunch of things. But don't fall into the trap or hearing from people, I could do it too if I wanted to. I just choose not to. the moment somebody says that, I already kind of, from whatever I was having a conversation with them, I start to look at them a little bit differently because it's like, what's with the excuses? I could fly if I really wanted to. Would I get far? No. Makes no sense.
Right.
Like,
I know you want to go off on those things, right?
Some things irk me, and in the beginning, it really, because I was so naive myself, I was one of those people. I said the same crap back in the day when I was younger and we could call it inexperienced in life.
That's what it is. I
and
think
it's naivete, or however you pronounce it. Yeah. Well, clip that. That one's going to go viral for however.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. Naive as hell, right?
Okay.
I'm naive as hell to think then that just because I threw that out into the atmosphere that people are going to buy it because I said it. No, you just look like an idiot. And I will agree, I look like an idiot then. Now I come out and I'll just say it. I applaud you because I couldn't see myself doing it. Like, I could put myself to the test, and I know with how my mindset is that I can put myself through it and get to that point. But me outright saying I could do it if I want to, I just choose not to at this point.
Don't say it at all.
Don't say it at all. Why are you even saying that?
Yeah, because I think anybody can do anything they really want if they put the time and effort, right? It just takes so much more than people realize, you know?
Right.
Especially when you're putting in all this time and it's still not working. Now you got to put an extra 40 hours a week to figure out how it works, right? So it's like...
And just because you're on social media and you're a social media user doesn't mean you're an expert in crap.
Right.
Just because you have 2,000 followers of your friends from high school and college or whatever, maybe a little bit more, doesn't mean you know shit.
But there are even people that have hundreds and thousands of followers or millions of followers, and you see like they were big at a certain point, and then all of a sudden they stop posting. Why do you think that is? Because they're not making any money. You know, views don't necessarily mean anything.
Right.
You know, you have to figure out how to leverage those views. So there are people that have, 10,000 followers that make millions of dollars leveraging their actual social media. 10,000 followers we're talking about. And they could be making way more money than someone that has a million
or a million. Yeah.
So, and we know them personally as well. So the views, the subscribers don't mean anything. So you have to also remember that when it's time to start growing your personal audience. It's all about planning and figuring out a strategy to make a business to bring in money. And if you're going to build a business, we'll probably do a video on that specifically, but all that is, it's all about value at that point, right?
Right.
Whatever you're going to start, you have to bring in the value that people are paying you for, whether it's with money or with time, right? And hopefully it's with money, because that's how you're going to make some kind of income. So that's how I would look at it.
And even if you think you don't have anything to offer, like the value that you just said, I find accounts, like, even if it's not a professional comedian, recently I've been watching a lot of stand-up comedians. Even if you're not a true stand-up comedian, like a big one, but you do funny stuff, the value I'm getting out of it is you made me laugh, you made my day better, I'm going to follow you.
Right.
That's a value somebody can get out of that. It's not just, oh, I learned something. Like, you're a professional in this space, I have to follow you because I won't get this information from anybody else. That's one type of value for sure, and that's what I feel like a lot of people are trying to get into, being that pro in a space. And I'm gonna stay calm on this one. There's a lot of fakes in that too. A lot of people think that just because they've been in a space for 6 months, a year,
Oh my goodness.
2 years, they're automatically this big old expert. And please take some time and realize that you are not, and humble yourself a little bit, because by God, you look dumb. To the people who really know what's going on,
Yeah.
you look dumb
Oh, absolutely. Like you and I can tell who those people are right away,
immediately.
immediately.
And don't get me wrong. Again, I was that guy back in the day.
Right.
I thought I was the same way, just because I was like, oh yeah, I'm in business now.
Yeah, you gotta take
I'm an
it down.
entrepreneur. Humble yourself,
humble
big
yourself
time.
and take it a notch down, right?
Because even the multimillionaires and billionaires, the biggest thing they understand is the humbled ones know that just because they're the richest in the room potentially doesn't mean that they're the smartest and they know everything. They were smart enough to hire people who were the best in each of those respected fields and brought them onto the team. That's what makes great leaders and great businesses come alive.
That's the long-term game right there. You start by yourself, do as much as you can, and once you get big enough, the only way to take it all the way to the end goal is to delegate to people that are smart, right? Eventually, you can only do so much as a one-man, one-person show, right?
For sure. I'm curious to see what our viewers think about this. Have you ever thought about starting your own personal brand? Or have you? Have you tried and have you failed? If so, leave us a comment. Or if you found a personal brand that you personally enjoy, let us know.
I would like to know, for those that did fail, why they think they failed.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know.